What's going on YouTube? Jax here, and today I've got a review on the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, which has turned out to be quite an excellent medium-sized SUV. These used to be small SUVs. They're definitely not small SUVs anymore. Now they are medium-sized, and some of them are quite large. But the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid is what I've been driving this week, and let's check it out. Oh wait, hold on. Let me interrupt that B-roll for just a second. I'm shooting this review in a little bit more of a vlog style format, just kind of wheeling and dealing with the camera, a little bit more casually than some of the other reviews. So let me know if you kind of prefer this style of review in the comments, and tell me what you like or don't like about it, and maybe I'll do more of it or less of it in the future. So anyway, let's get back to the B-roll. Now, right off the bat, let's take a look at one of the most obvious aspects of the RAV4, and that's the exterior styling. Personally, I really like the exterior styling of the RAV4. It has this sort of like son or daughter of 4Runner look to it, and I think it works really, really well. In fact, I'll be the first to admit that I thought the old RAV4, in fact, let's say the old RAV4s plural, were, in a word, ugly. Like, they didn't look good at all. In fact, I don't really think any of the RAV4s up until now looked especially stylish or interesting. This RAV4, completely different. In fact, the style extends to the inside and the outside. The outside has that great sort of baby 4Runner vibe, while the inside is starting to look quite luxurious. In fact, the inside looks really nice. I think the inside is pretty great. The seats are very comfortable. The leather looks good. The style looks good. We'll get into the inside a little bit more in a second, but overall the styling of the RAV4 looks really nice. It's sort of upscale, it's a little bit tougher, it's got a little bit more presence than any RAV4 before, and by a little bit more, I mean a lot more, like tons more, like a Titanic's worth of style compared to the old RAV4s. Another nice thing about the styling is that it doesn't really come at the expense of space. The interior is quite large, but the exterior is still a very reasonable sized SUV. You have a ton of cargo room in the back. Backseat passengers have tons of legroom. I mean, a lot of legroom, even for me, and I'm 6'6", and that's sitting behind the front seats in a reasonable position. I had plenty of space in the front seat of the RAV4, so I like that the exterior styling has really kind of matured and has this upscale look, but it doesn't seem to come at the cost of space or utility, and that's really nice when a lot of the sort of more sloped rear roof midsize SUVs are losing useful cargo space or rear seat headroom. Now, what about this hybrid model? What does that even mean, and what does it bring to the table? Well, there's a few important things to note with the hybrid model, and to be quite honest, I like all of them. Now, that might be surprising because you're like, well, wait a second. Isn't this like a car and motorcycle channel? Isn't this for enthusiasts and all that? Well, yes, but remember what I've said before. Enthusiasts that have the reality of driving kids around in a family, or letting the wife borrow the car, or having to haul stuff and go to practices and pick people up. This is real life. And the RAV4 excels, like really excels, at the day-to-day grind. The hybrid model fantastically switches between EV mode and regular mode. And let's break that down for a second with what that actually means. So the RAV4 Hybrid can actually go a little bit of distance at a moderate pace and full EV mode. I think it's up to like 25 miles per hour, at least in real world driving, that's what it is. So let's kind of look at it from that standpoint. In real world driving, the RAV4 can go up to about, half a mile, and 25 miles per hour is about what I got. But the big benefit of the EV mode is that it allows you to creep through traffic and start from a dead standstill at a stoplight in EV mode and save gas. The gasoline engine kicks in with the CVT transmission, and it propels you at sort of higher loads, faster speeds, and when you need to accelerate into like merging on a highway or something like that. But the transition between the two is literally seamless. There is no shudder, there's no shake, there's no indication whatsoever that the car has changed modes. It's fascinating how it does it, and it's so smooth that sometimes I would look down and be like, am I in EV mode? Is the engine even running? Like, what's going on right now? There's a little green light on the dash to let you know when you're actually in EV mode. But other than that, that's the only indication. Now, in cold weather, there were a few moments when you could tell that the gasoline engine was running. To be honest with you, it's a little coarse and buzzy at higher RPMs or when you put your foot into it. And when the car is cold, it needs the gasoline engine to help warm it up a tad. But other than that, it is almost imperceptible when the car switches between the gasoline engine and the hybrid mode. Obviously, this pays off big time in gas mileage, and I averaged, okay, get this, because this is pretty incredible. When the cars are dropped off for press cars, they're dropped off with a full tank of gas. This RAV4 was dropped off with a full tank of gas, and the range said about 400, I think it was like 450 miles. As of right now, after driving it for a week in the day-to-day grind, almost exclusively in stop-and-go kind of commuter traffic, the RAV4 has averaged 40 miles to the gallon and has only used half a tank of gas. I have another half a tank of gas to go. I could drive for another full week on one tank of gas, driving the family all over the suburb of Atlanta that we live in. That's pretty incredible and extremely useful and cost efficient. Another nice benefit of the hybrid powertrain is that the RAV4 isn't slow. I mean, really, not at all. It's not slow in the slightest. It goes 0 to 60 in like 7.5 seconds with a combined output of this many horsepower right here. I'm terrible. I should have brought notes and have them in front of me and be like, this many horsepower, but it's just gonna be like right here so you can see it. This many horsepower with a little sound effect. Just like that. That was kind of like a dove, though. That'd be weird. That wouldn't really make sense. Although it is a hybrid, so maybe like having a little dove sound like would make sense. Like when you open the back, doves fly out and enjoy the clean air provided by your hybrid RAV4. Anyway, I was saying something about the RAV4 like not being slow, and then I got off on a tangent about doves. So there you go, in the keywords below on this video, Toyota RAV4 doves coming out of the trunk. Yeah, or something. Now, how does the RAV4 drive? This might be one of the most surprising aspects of the RAV4 to me. When I had the Camry XSE, one of the things I complained about was that it had this phenomenal engine, this 300 horsepower V6, but the rest of the car, the chassis and the suspension, didn't seem to live up to it. The RAV4, and I am not making this up, in my opinion, is better damped. It has better body control for what it is. Now, does it have objectively better body control than the Camry XSE? I don't know, doubtful. I'd have to drive them back to back. But for what it is, a family SUV, a hybrid family SUV, the body control is quite good. There's some lean in the corners, but over undulations in the pavement, especially on my little road over there that I like to test suspension on, the RAV4 was very composed. I wouldn't say it's quite up to like Honda drive and handling, definitely not Mazda, but it is above average and definitely above average in this class of vehicles. Now, one of the areas where the RAV4 really shines is the interior. The interior is really, really nice. The quality of the materials is fantastic. I love this little Toyota steering wheel. I mean, I really like it actually. This Toyota steering wheel is like perfect. It's the perfect size. The rim is the perfect width. It's got full controls on it, which I'm probably showing you now with some really epic B-roll. And it's intuitive and user-friendly. I think this is an awesome steering wheel. In fact, it's a way better steering wheel than you'd expect to find in a mid-size mainstream family SUV. And yet here we are. And that was my TED Talk on steering wheels. Thank you for coming. Enjoy. But overall, this is a highly functional and extremely user-friendly interior. I honestly don't have many complaints. The hard plastics are banished to the lower ends pretty much from your hip point down. The overall design and aesthetic looks really good. The only thing I don't understand is that the middle part, the upper part of the center console is a little bit wide, where it has the shifter and this sort of almost obscenely large drive select knob. It just seems like a little bit of useless kind of waste of space, but it's not obtrusive. I still have plenty of room, and I am a very large individual, and I was very comfy. Speaking of comfy, these seats are awesome. I think they could do a little bit better job holding you in place, but they are perfection in sort of firmness. Are they quite as good as my beloved Civic Type R seats? No, they haven't cured my scoliosis, but I never got tired, I never got fatigued, and my back feels pretty darn good. Also, all of the expected convenience features are here, along with all of the expected safety features. The RAV4 has cameras all around with surround view. It's got all of Toyota's latest safety features, so you would feel very comfortable with your teenager driving it. More on that in a second. Infotainment-wise, it has Bluetooth and Apple CarPlay. It's very user-friendly. My only complaint about the infotainment is literally the same complaint I've had about the Camry and the Corolla hatch that I had before, and that's just that the infotainment systems on a lot of cars are just a tiny half step behind. They're just a little bit slow considering the world we live in with instantaneous, ingenious smartphone response. The infotainment systems on a lot of mainstream cars need to catch up, or just give up and let Apple CarPlay do everything. Like just make it a blank head unit, no more navigation, no more Bluetooth, no more blah, blah, blah. Just let Apple CarPlay handle everything, or Android Auto, whatever the case may be. That's my only complaint. The safety and comfort and convenience. I mean, this car has heated and cooled seats. It has heated rear seats. It has driver select, so you can save your settings. It's got a pretty thumping JBL audio system. It's a little high on the bass, but my 16-year-old self that wanted two 10-inch subwoofers in the back of his Firebird is perfectly happy with that. 90s people, you know what I'm talking about. It's got wireless phone charging. It's got everything you could possibly want, and a lot of usable space. Oh yeah, one quick word on the drive modes. Normal mode is the only useful mode. It has a sport mode. Yeah, right. And it's got an eco mode, which basically renders the RAV4 completely unusable. I mean, come on, automakers, with the eco mode where the gas pedal is about as numb as a wet noodle on a sack of flour that's slowly deteriorating in saltwater riptide. That literally made no sense. I don't even know what the heck I was just saying. I was just trying to think of things that were slowly eroding away. What even was that? I feel like I just became someone else. It was like Will Ferrell in Old School, where he was like, and he said all that stuff and he didn't even remember who he was.
What happened? I blacked out.
Anyway, the only useful mode is normal mode. Just press normal mode. It even has an EV mode where it will basically discharge the battery in all EV cruising. Also kind of useless. That's not really, it's like a party trick. This car is meant to be driven as a hybrid, and if you drive it that way, it is excellent. So right now I am sitting behind the passenger seat, which is about where Mrs. Jax would have her seat if she were driving. I am very comfortable, and I'll show you in a second that my knees are not even hardly touching the back of the seat. Now, could I sit behind myself? That'd be a little bit of a stretch. I'd have to move the seat up some. However, it is very useful being able to transport very above average people, especially when you have children as big as mine, with room to spare, and it doesn't impinge on the cargo space. Very impressive. Oh, and by the way, the battery pack is underneath this rear seat, which is why there's still so much cargo space. Good job, Toyota. Smart thinking. So there we go. Legs not hardly touching. Passenger seat right there. You can see over there, that's the space behind where I would sit. Big enough for a kid. Space behind the passenger seat, big enough for me. Very nice. So, overall, what do we think of the Toyota RAV4? Well, a couple of things. First off, this is an amazing car. I believe it is the sales leader in the segment. I will fact check that and then I will display it on the screen to make it look like I knew what I was talking about. But there's a good reason for this. The RAV4 is an excellent vehicle. It's spacious, it's fuel efficient, it's decent to drive, and it makes you feel richer than you actually are because the interior is extremely nice. So it's pretty much a win-win on all fronts. One thing that I've been thinking a lot about lately is when Ella turns 16, what kind of car will I get for her? A small SUV makes sense. She'll be a teenage girl and want something that has some decent size and space, has a few convenience features for her, but also an impeccable safety record because, you know, she's a teenage driver. So the current crop of small SUVs will be coming on the market as used cars around that time because, you know, I'm not an idiot. I'm not getting my teenager a new car. Shame on anyone who would. I don't care what you say, that's ridiculous. So the current generation of small SUVs has me thinking, what car would be best for her and our family? The RAV4, the CR-V, and the Mazda CX-5 are three of the very best small SUVs you can buy. This has been an excellent test of the RAV4, and I thoroughly enjoyed driving it. I thoroughly enjoyed having it as part of our family's day-to-day travels, and it's certainly near the top of my list. I'm hoping in the near future to sort of test a CR-V and a CX-5. I've got a CX-5 coming in a few weeks to sort of see which of these cars would fit this job description the best. Future, teenager, new driver, used car. Because right now, we have some excellent cars to choose from. There certainly isn't much that the Toyota RAV4 can't do. It is a stylish, well-put-together, semi-luxurious, fuel-efficient family vehicle, and it might just be the perfect car for your future teenage driver. Stay tuned for more on that, featuring me and Ella evaluating some of these cars together, especially in the spring when I'm going to take her to the Atlanta Auto Show to look at them back to back. She wants a Jeep Wrangler. That ain't going to happen. So we're going to look at these instead. Overall, if your family needs a midsize SUV with a lot of cargo space, plenty of backseat space, a lot of features, and fuel efficiency is a priority, or you just want to do right by the planet, you couldn't do much better than the Toyota RAV4. I'm going to be looking forward to seeing how the new CR-V Hybrid compares, but right now, if you want a midsize SUV hybrid, this is the #1 game in town. I hope you guys enjoyed this more vloggy style. If you didn't, let me know. I can always break the tripod back out and do it a little bit more seriously. Please consider liking and subscribing to join this community of cars and motorcycles, all based out of Atlanta, Georgia. And stay tuned for some more awesome reviews and great content coming your way. Some awesome opportunities on the horizon that I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys. I just absolutely love doing this stuff, and I love it when people contact me and say, hey, I got one of the cars, or I checked out one of the cars that you mentioned, and it was so cool, so awesome, so amazing. I ended up buying one. I haven't got too many negative stories so far, and I hope I don't, because I hope my opinion provides some sort of value to you. So if it does, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. This is Jax. Ride safe, drive safe. I'll catch you in the next video, which I think might be about the Mazda CX-5. So we're going to see how these stack up back to back. Take it easy. Have a good one. Peace. Blah, blah. That made no sense. And now it's time for gratuitous sunset drone shots. Why? Just because I have the drone and I have the Toyota, and I was like, why not?